Okay, so I'm going to go over the final essay assignment. I'm going to walk through the worksheet, and then I'm going to show you a sample essay that I'm posting on Moodle after this video. So this is a really simple assignment. The assignment sheet can be found here under week 14. And then the upload for this is under week 15. Just so everybody is aware first, before I get into the thick of it here, you do not need to write this in Word and upload it as a Word document. The way that I would like you to upload the essay is through a text box. So just so you know what's happening when you go to submit this assignment, you'll click on the upload link. All right. And then you'll hit add submission. So when you hit add submission, you'll get a text box, and you've seen these before, but maybe not for an essay assignment. So you can just type the essay directly into this text box and save it as you go, or you can write the essay in Word and then copy it over. Just make sure that when you paste it into the text box that way, you use Control-V on the keyboard. And so this doesn't need to be necessarily in MLA format, but I would like you to still type your header like you normally would. So with our class, and then the date that it's due, which I believe this is April 23rd. And then you can put your title on there and start typing like that. So that's all the formatting you need to do, just because when I view it, I'll need to see your name there. But it can be single-spaced. It doesn't have to be double-spaced. And this is a basic 5 to 10 paragraph essay. So I'm not looking for anything overly long in terms of length, and it really shouldn't take you that long to write once you get all the materials together. So let's look at the assignment sheet then. This is kind of a long-winded way to ask for what I'm looking for, but the assignment sheet just gives you the basic view of what I'm looking for. So over the course of the semester, we've been talking about writing in hopefully different ways than you've understood of writing as a practice before. And so we began the semester with my definition of writing, which I said was the contextual communication of ideas through various genre and media. And then one of the first assignments that you did, a smaller assignment, was to define writing in your own terms, as you then understood it. So kind of what I'm looking for in this paper is, how has that definition or understanding grown over the course of the semester, and what has contributed to that growing definition? Writing is not easily defined, and it's not something that you can really master. It's only something that you can kind of continue to learn and get better at. So my goal for this paper is for you to reflect on your writing from the semester and see how you've gotten better in writing. So you've actually been working on your own theory or understanding of writing, whether you know it or not. And so all those writing logs that you've been doing over the course of the semester and the discussion boards we're really building towards that, right? It was to engage your thoughts and understandings of certain concepts that we've gone over in class, or certain rhetorical practices that you need to use in your essays. So the requirements for this are simple but a little different than what you're used to. So you will need to use 4 of your writings for this paper as source support, and by that I mean you need to use any writing that you've done over the course of this semester, preferably writing from this class, but it can be writing from any of your other classes. It can be writing from your workplace. It can be writing that you do in your personal time. It can even be writing that you engage in on social media or with friends, right? So there's nothing specific that you need to look at, but it might help you more to use writings from this class. In addition to that, you can also use any comments that I've left you about your writing, or comments that other professors have left you about your writing. So those can also count as part of that 4 writing sources. So you could have a combination of, let's say, 2 of your writings and 2 comments from me. The writing that you're using and or my comments will serve as the evidence or source support for your ideas that you write about in this paper. So as you reflect back and answer the questions that I have below, you should be using examples from your writings or my comments to sort of support those ideas and those reflections. You should also use some of the key terms that I've listed here. So these are some of the many concepts or definitions or rhetorical devices that we've gone over this semester in some form or another. Some of them you may not have seen for a while. Others we may not have gone over directly. So like decorum, for instance, is a term that we didn't really get to cover this semester. Try to use the language of these terms as you reflect back on your writing when you consider things that you maybe improved on, or when you consider aspects of the writing practices that have helped you grow as a writer. So is your understanding of genre or audience, has that helped your growth as a writer this semester, or has it helped your understanding of writing and as a practice this semester? So I have a very simple organizational structure here. Just these 5 different questions, more or less, can be 5 separate paragraphs, each being no longer than 2 paragraphs. But really, you just need to go through and answer these questions to the best of your ability for each section, trying to make some kind of transition in between the sections so they're not separated. And really the writings that you're going to use are going to come into play more for questions 2 through 4 here, and I'll show you that with the sample essay that I have coming up. This, in many ways, is a personal narrative. You are talking to me or writing to me about your writing journey over the course of the semester. So I do expect you to use first person. I do want you to use narrative here as much as possible, because you're kind of discussing a growth and you're reflecting back on you and your writing. So this is about you and nobody else. So to get started, I would like you to define your theory of writing as you understand it now. So what do you now know or understand about writing and the practices of writing and literacy now that you're at the end of this semester? All right, so that's your introduction. What do you know about it now? In the second section or paragraph here, I want you to reflect back on how that definition has changed. So what was your theory of writing coming into English 101, and how has it changed or evolved as you've composed pieces of writings in this class or other classes for the semester? So look back on your essays, look at maybe early essays or drafts, and then later essays or drafts, and see what changed in between those texts. And that's when you can start using source support. Section 3 is really just asking you to reflect back on things like these key terms, right? What lessons or assignments or concepts contributed to your understanding of writing the most this semester? Was that any kind of class lesson or discussion or group work? Was it specific key terms? Was it rhetorical concepts or devices that we went over? And then again, point out from your writings or my comments areas where you sort of used these different devices or concepts in your writing. Section 4 is the one I get the most questions about, and all I'm looking for here is for you to describe to me what your understanding is between your writing practice and how you create knowledge in a conversation. So how do you add and develop knowledge within a particular context or conversation, whether that's a conversation between you and your friends or a conversation between you and an audience, a larger audience, right? Maybe it's a constituent group, maybe it is a particular demographic group that you're reaching out to, but how does writing help you add to a conversation? And then section 5 is the most reflective here. It is asking you to consider all these things that you've learned and how can you use them in the future. How can you take your understanding of writing and apply it outside of the classroom, or to other classes, even if that's just writing to your friends or talking to your friends. How can you take these concepts and use them in your life outside of the classroom? And then lastly, you will need to cite yourself here, and that's kind of a weird practice, but these are the MLA citations that I'll accept for this paper. For your Works Cited page, you would include your last name and first name, the title of the piece of writing. So if it's a writing log, it might be writing log : knowledge, right? Because that was one of the writing logs from the semester. And then the class and section number that the writing comes from. If it's a personal writing, you can just put personal writing, or status update on like Facebook update or something like that, Facebook status. And then due date of the assignment or date that it was composed, depending on the type of writing. And then whenever you quote from your writings or my comments, you would just put the title of the writing in the parenthetical citation. So that might be Wynkoop comments on this essay. It could be the title of the essay you're writing about, or the title of the writing log, so on and so forth. So that's the gist of the assignment. I'm going to go over here and look at this sample essay that I'll post online. So I've copied this in a Word, but this is kind of how it will appear in the text box. This student wrote 900 words. Yours does not necessarily have to be that long, but she does use quite a bit of information from her writing, so just keep that in mind. So she's using a lot of source support and analyzing a lot here. I won't go through too much here, but I do want to show you how to use your own writings in this essay. So notice here she starts off the beginning with her definition. She says, in one of my previous essays, I say, quote, writing is a form of communication that allows people to express their ideas, feelings, and beliefs through various genres. In addition, writing is known as a process that over time creates more polished product. Quote, the purpose of writing is to inform, persuade, or entertain your targeted audience. So she's reflecting back on different definitions here. And then goes on to kind of describe what her current definition or understanding of writing is, right? Writing is an art form that anyone can do. Everyone has their own way of describing the art of writing. However, in the end, it is all relatively the same. And in section 2 here, as she continues to reflect back, you'll notice the narrative structure. As I entered English 101, I saw writing as simply a form of communication utilized by someone in order to present an idea. So she's thinking back on her experiences. She's writing about her personal experience in the class. She says, I was not fully aware of how a writer exploits their words and structure. So she's looking at her own sort of the areas that she was lacking coming into the class, and then talks about how she's grown through reading and writing. She's gained a new understanding of writing. Writers don't just write their ideas and expect to grab their audience's attention. A skilled writer must present their messages in a way that piques the reader's interest. So she is doing reflection here, analyzing what she learned and considering what she learned over the course of the semester. Then she provides some examples. So if you notice, in order to reach out to an audience, writers have to use ethos, logos, and pathos. So she's using the key terms here. She says an example of pathos from a prior essay that she composed states, pit bulls have been suffering at the hands of a collection of negative assumptions, causing them to have an increase in numbers within shelters. So here she's quoting from her own writing, and then analyzes here and says, by including the word suffering, I connected with the reader's emotions and created a feeling of sympathy. So she's using her text as support and then analyzing that quote like you would with any other piece of writing that you would include as source support here. Next section, my theory of writing has grown not just from writing essays, but also from our Credo quizzes, writing logs, and discussions. The quote, Credo quizzes have helped me in citing sources and creating works cited pages. So she's quoting one of the discussion logs here that she wrote this semester. using this for support of this statement that she begins the section with, and then goes on to talk about writing logs. These writing logs have helped, these writing logs I have been completing throughout the semester have challenged me to think differently and more in depth. So again, she's reflecting back on her experience. She's telling me how these particular aspects of the course have helped her writing, and then shows me that in the essay itself. So it's not, this isn't a difficult paper. This is all about you and your experiences and reflecting back on what you learned, and then just using your writings to support that, to show me how you have learned something this semester. And then she includes the works cited section down here. So tells me her name, the specific text, and then all the other course information. So this student used only writings from the class, but again, like I said, you can use other writings if you'd like. Most students choose to use writings in the class, but it is entirely up to you. This essay is on Moodle now. It should be on Moodle now, so you can look at it at your discretion and leisure. Please ask me if you have any questions about this assignment. But it is, again, mostly about you reflecting back on what you learned. That's the goal. That's the purpose of the assignment, is to tell me, I'm your specific audience this time, to tell me what you learned about writing this semester. So reach out to me on Remind, or let me know if you have any questions or comments through email or the app, and I'll see you.